Imagine the profound wonder of your own existence, not just as a biological machine, a collection of cells and synapses firing, but as someone who actively experiences the world around you. You see color, the vibrant hues of a sunset, feel texture, the smooth coolness of glass or the rough bark of a tree, and hear life's symphony, from the gentle rustling of leaves to a powerful crescendo. This rich inner movie, constantly playing, is what we call consciousness. For centuries, consciousness was a profound mystery, a topic left primarily to philosophers and theologians. But then came a new breed of scientists, bold enough to ask, where does this feeling, this subjective experience, actually come from? Christof Koch is one such scientist, a pioneer, dedicating his life to chasing the elusive ghost in the machine, seeking to understand its origins and mechanisms. Raised in Germany, Koch's relentless curiosity and intellectual rigor drove him to the very edge of what we currently understand about the intricate workings of the brain. His central question: how does a complex network of billions of neurons firing in specific patterns give rise to the rich, personal, and subjective experience of simply being alive? Koch's journey began with a powerful alliance, a collaborative effort aimed at dragging the mystery of consciousness into the clear light of scientific investigation. He and his collaborators boldly argued that consciousness is, at its core, a biological phenomenon, measurable through scientific instruments, ultimately understandable through rigorous analysis, and therefore not off-limits to the realm of science. Koch's groundbreaking work forces us to confront the profound and humbling fact that, in a very real sense, we are the universe becoming aware of itself. He isn't just creating a map of the brain's physical structure. He's searching for the fundamental source code that gives rise to all of our experience. Few scientific partnerships were as transformative as that of Christof Koch and Francis Crick. Crick, famed for discovering DNA's structure, turned his attention to consciousness, the greatest unsolved problem in biology. He needed a fearless collaborator and found Koch, a young neuroscientist at Caltech. Their partnership fused Crick's intuition with Koch's technical expertise, launching a scientific assault on consciousness. They reframed the question, not what is consciousness, but what are the neural correlates of consciousness, the NCCs, the goal pinpoint brain activity directly linked to conscious experience. This shift turned a philosophical mystery into a scientific problem. If you could find the NCCs, you'd have the puzzle's most important pieces. Their collaborations signaled to the scientific community. Consciousness was now a frontier for exploration. The taboo was broken. The search for consciousness had begun. The hunt for NCCs, or neural correlates of consciousness, was a search for the brain's signature of experience, a quest to pinpoint the specific neural activity that gives rise to our subjective awareness. Crick and Koch, two pioneering figures in this field, believed every conscious moment had a measurable neural pattern, a unique fingerprint in the brain that corresponded directly to what we were experiencing. The goal wasn't to find a single isolated consciousness center, but to identify the dynamic coalitions of neurons working together in concert that create our specific perceptions and thoughts. Experiments like binocular rivalry, showing different images to each eye, let scientists track how perception flips and changes even while the external stimulus remains constant and unchanging. Brain scans reveal that when perception changes, so does neural activity, lighting up different areas of the brain, even if the visual input itself doesn't change at all. This direct link between neural firing patterns and our subjective experience, the way we consciously perceive the world, is a strong candidate for the NCC, a key piece of the puzzle in understanding consciousness. Studies of brain injuries, anesthesia, which temporarily suspends consciousness, and meditation, which can alter states of awareness, further mapped the complex landscape of consciousness. Researchers were able to narrow down which specific brain areas are absolutely essential for maintaining awareness and conscious experience. The real action for visual consciousness, it turns out, happens not in the initial receiving areas, but in the higher-level processing areas of the brain, not just the primary visual cortex, which simply receives the raw visual data. For the first time in history, science was beginning to build a data-driven map based on empirical evidence of our inner world, the subjective realm of experience. The age-old mystery of consciousness was now finally being grounded in the tangible realm of physical reality and measurable brain activity. Crick and Koch's work shattered taboos in neuroscience. Before them, consciousness was dismissed as unscientific. Young researchers were warned away. Their focus on NCCs gave scientists a concrete research program and sparked creative experiments. Cognitive neuroscience and neuroimaging exploded, and consciousness became a legitimate field. Their work shifted focus from isolated brain regions to dynamic neural networks and integration. The idea that consciousness is about interconnectedness, not just neuron count, took hold. Most importantly, they made the hard problem of subjective experience central to science. Their legacy, a vibrant field dedicated to understanding the mind. For years, Koch believed consciousness would emerge from mapping the brain's complexity. But as data grew, the leap from mechanism to feeling remained mysterious. The hard problem. Science could explain how neurons process information, but not why it feels like anything. After Crick's death, Koch considered radical ideas. Maybe consciousness was never absent, but fundamental. Inspired by integrated information theory, he explored panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a basic property of the universe. This wasn't a rejection of neuroscience, but an extension. If consciousness is tied to information integration, perhaps it exists in rudimentary forms in all organized systems. Koch's shift was bold, driven by frustration with the explanatory gap. The search for a theory that explains awareness led him to panpsychism. Panpsychism, a fascinating and somewhat controversial theory, proposes a simple yet profound solution. It offers a unique lens through which to view the very nature of reality and our place within it. To the age-old mind-body problem, the question of how our subjective experiences arise from physical matter. It's a question that has puzzled philosophers and scientists for centuries. Panpsychism posits that consciousness is not something that suddenly appears with complex brains, but rather a basic and intrinsic feature of all matter. Now, this doesn't mean that rocks are thinking complex thoughts, but that all matter, even at the most fundamental level, possesses a primitive, almost imperceptible form of experience. Just as the sensation of wetness emerges from the collective behavior of countless water molecules, consciousness, in its richer forms, emerges from the complex integration of these proto-conscious particles within systems like our brains. Panpsychists argue that even fundamental particles, the building blocks of everything we know, have a minuscule, almost unimaginable flicker of feeling or awareness. In brains, with their intricate networks, these flickers combine and amplify, ultimately giving rise to the rich and complex consciousness that we experience and know so intimately. A rock's particles are disordered and lack the necessary integration for a unified experience. A brain, on the other hand, is like a well-coordinated choir, creating a symphony of awareness from its many individual parts. The appeal of panpsychism lies in the idea that consciousness doesn't magically appear at a certain level of complexity. It's always been a fundamental part of the fabric of reality, present in varying degrees throughout the universe. Therefore, evolution didn't have to create consciousness from scratch, but rather, it organized and refined it into the sophisticated forms we see in living organisms. This reframes the hard problem of consciousness, suggesting that the physical and experiential are not separate entities, but rather two sides of the same fundamental coin. In essence, panpsychism suggests that consciousness, in its most basic form, is woven into the very fabric of the universe from the very start. Panpsychism is controversial. Many scientists see it as unfalsifiable and too mystical. Critics argue it just shifts the mystery to a deeper level with no clear experiments to test it. Yet some thinkers, including Koch, are drawn to it by the persistent failure of conventional theories. Panpsychism avoids the miracle of consciousness suddenly emerging from non-conscious matter. Koch, now at the Allen Institute, balances rigorous neuroscience with openness to radical ideas. The big questions remain: if panpsychism is true, How do microconsciousnesses combine? If not, how does brain matter create experience? The search for consciousness's origins is a journey to understand our place in the cosmos. It raises the possibility that the universe is in some fundamental way awake.